Guys, do you struggle finding jeans that are comfortable and the perfect fit? Then you gotta try Mott & Bow. Mott & Bow jeans are beautifully handcrafted. They use only the finest denim fabrics from the best mills in the world. Family artisans have been honing their denim skills for 35 years, and this is evident the second you put on the first pair. Mott & Bow jeans are ridiculously comfortable with a classic, clean style. And get this, they're at least half the price of designer jeans of some of the same quality that sell for over $200. Mott & Bow is also currently the only jean company on the market to offer a free home try-on program. Just choose your first pair, along with an alternate waist size. They'll send you both pairs so you can decide which is the best fit for you. Then send the other one back free. Just try Mott & Bow today, and you'll notice a difference between them and every other pair of jeans you own, yeah, even the ones you have on right now. For 20% off your first purchase, visit mottandbow.com and enter the code MIKE at checkout. That's spelled MOTTANDBOW.com, promo code MIKE.
It's time for some straight talk. The big wireless companies charge a boatload for their superior network coverage. But guess what? Straight Talk uses the same cell towers but charges a lot less. Who knew? Well, now you do. And I do. So let's do something. It's time to switch to Straight Talk. Unlimited plans start as low as $35 a month on America's largest, most dependable networks. Straight Talk Wireless. Only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. A month equals 30 days. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
Today it is Will Cain and Ryen Russillo on a Friday for the guys. Field Yates is going to be hanging out, talking a ton of football. We'll get some hoops in as well.
Nice.
So it's good to see you, Field. Mellowed out Field Yates early today. You got a long one in front of you. He's already ready to go to first take. People are going to stop giving you heat about the suit because you have other responsibilities here.
Who's giving me heat?
A lot of girls were talking about it.
I heard that too.
Really?
Saw it on Twitter also. Yeah,
What?
You're trending for a second.
Do you know what?
Is everything trending because it's 6 a.m. though?
Yeah, that's like there are only like 4 things that are actually being discussed, so inevitably you are trending.
I'm going to tell you something.
Okay, I'm here for it.
Twitter doesn't matter. That's the truth.
That's a
we give entirely too much credit to Twitter.
Yeah,
It
but you're going to be on it
doesn't
the whole
matter.
show. You'll be on it the whole show.
my mind
didn't say
just
that, Ryan.
exploded. My mind has exploded.
This whole time, it's not real. There's not going to be something else. Will there be something else in 10 years that I'm updating constantly, that I'm constantly looking
It'll keep
at?
getting smaller because Twitter's like 15% of the population is on Twitter at even signed up for it. So in the future, we'll be super influenced by one person somewhere giving us some feedback.
That'd be good. It would be nice to streamline the whole thing.
Hopefully you're married to them.
Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive is celebrating 5 years and more than 500 cars donated to vets. To learn more, visit keystoprogress.com. Let's start with last night, okay?
Yep.
Not a great game. We knew with Drew Stanton coming in. There's a bunch of different angles on this whole Arizona and Seattle matchup. Seattle wins, but Richard Sherman now out for the season with that torn Achilles. What does that mean for the secondary and a defense that's been slipping a little in Seattle?
I'm not sure it'll catch up to Seattle before the postseason. Like, I still think there's an excellent shot they make the playoffs. They're obviously 6-3 right now. They're a half game back of the Los Angeles Rams, who they've already beaten once in Los Angeles. They have another game against them at Seattle. They're very good at home. So in some ways, and not to make a lazy comparison, but it reminds me of what happened with Earl Thomas last season. He misses the final 4 games of the year because of that broken leg. He's on injured reserve. And Seattle still made it to the playoffs, and maybe they weren't a great team going into the playoffs, but you still said, and we actually talked about this on your show yesterday, Ryan, like, we can't quit the Seahawks, right? I'm going to be a year too late to anoint the Seahawks as not a legitimate contender going forward, rather than a year too soon. But this could catch up to Seattle in the postseason because Sherman, he is a dominant player in that defense. Not a good player, not an occasionally good player, not a regressing player, a dominant player in that defense. And as much as it's difficult to quantify what an emotional heartbeat is, it certainly feels like Richard Sherman brings a lot to that carbon of that defense. So it's a big loss.
I get what you're saying on you're telling the public, I'm going to be sticking up for Seattle a year longer than I should be.
Yes.
And I actually admire that honesty. And I feel like that's kind of the group I've been in for a long time. I look at Seattle and go, you know what, I just trust him. Russell Wilson towards the end of a game, the magic that guy pulls off, I still feel like he's almost underappreciated. There's certain special things that Russell Wilson can do that I don't know other quarterbacks can do. He's just, it's not going to be 300 yards every single game,
yep.
but what he does to close is special. All right, so I'm rambling. They have not been the same defensively, and now they lose one of the best corners. Yep. They're still good, but they're not great. The other angle you can go with this, and Mike Sando hit it on yesterday on ESPN.com, is that their opponent's winning percentage is the lowest of any team in the NFL. So ultimately you could say they've had the easiest schedule at this point in because of their own division, because of who they've cross-matched in the AFC, AFC South, NFC West, and they haven't played the better teams in the NFC East yet, okay? So are we being fooled? Are we being fooled into thinking that when it comes playoff time, you know what's going to happen? Be like, oh, you don't want to play Seattle. I think we just do that all the time. If somebody's been successful, we do this thing in the playoffs. We go, oh, nobody wants to play them, when they may not be that great offensively, and they may be the worst version of themselves defensively they've seen in like 4 or 5 years.
I was going to say, like, their worst version of defense could still be one of the 5 best defenses in football, or top 10, whatever you may think. Maybe it's possible that like they just haven't. I think sometimes we talk about like quality of. I think we obviously talk about quality of competition more in college football. So like maybe they are to cross-sport analogy. Maybe
they're Wisconsin.
I was going to say Wisconsin or Miami right now. Like
yeah, but they have that win against the Rams.
Wisconsin
doesn't have a win against the
Rams. That's fair. Yeah,
I'm not buying
playing
that,
later on.
I mean, they got the Rams win. That Texans win is with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, that's
it was
fair.
An incredible
game. They have 2 wins that. Those are probably their 2 signature wins of the season.
There's the 2 best. They beat the Redskins, who, look, the Redskins.
No, they lost the Redskins.
No, they lost.
Lost the Redskins last week.
They beat the Cardinals, the Giants, the Colts, and the Niners. Those are 4 of the 6.
They lose to the Packers in week 1, obviously, in that very tight game at Lambeau Field. Maybe we'll learn more about Seattle in their final 6 games than we did during their first 6 games. They do play Atlanta. I believe that game is in Seattle on Monday Night Football.
It is.
In, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. So that'll be a good test, despite what Atlanta has looked like so far this season. Maybe, though, the realization will come in the playoff. And I think what got Seattle last year in the postseason was their second postseason game was, of course, against Atlanta. And Atlanta had this offense that was a juggernaut at the time that Seattle even could be just fine defensively for the first half of that game and then just have no ability to play catch-up in the second half. If you look at the NFC right now, like I'm not sure how many teams are prepared to run away from Seattle on offense. Obviously, the Rams have a very good offense. The first time they played Seattle, they got held to 10 points. The Eagles have a very good offense as well. But that feels like the only offense right now that is currently playing at such a high level that's in the playoff mix in the NFC that you're like, all right, they're just gonna scoot right past Seattle to the point where they may not have a chance. New Orleans is very good offensively, but the defense has been the story for them over the past 6 weeks, which has catalyzed that 6-game winning streak.
I want to ask you about Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Green.
Okay.
Jalen Ramsey went off yesterday on A.J. Green, backed up what happened this past weekend when they got in a fight. Do you have sound, Ryan, of Jalen Ramsey going off on A.J. Green?
Yeah, here's Jalen Ramsey, and this is hurtful.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't say nothing like that. But you feel me? I told him almost every play that he was weak, that he was soft. Them is straight facts. He just couldn't handle the truth. Them is facts. Told him that his time almost up. Told him that it was easy, which it was. He had 1 catch for 6 yards. I was just out there spitting facts to him, so he got mad.
What is the sentiment in the league about Jalen Ramsey?
I would imagine that someday someone's going to write a piece on ESPN.com that's like the all-star team of players that when they're on your team, you love them. When they're on a different team, you have a hard time tolerating them. And Jalen Ramsey could become the captain of that team. He's incredible. I mean, I think probably one of the 3 best cornerbacks so far this season. You make the case for him as the best cornerback so far this season. Him, Patrick Peterson, Xavier Rhodes, that kind of caliber of player so far. I know this from talking to players for a long time, being around the game for long enough, that defensive players especially love cornerbacks with confidence that borders on irrational confidence sometimes. And not that Jalen Ramsey doesn't have the skill set to back up his words so far this year, but there are going to be plays where he's going to get beat, and he's going to say to himself, he got lucky. That was the one he gets. He's only getting one today. He just got it. And this kind of confidence right here, like I think it's sort of infectious for the rest of that defense where they're awesome. Like they've got good players at all 3 levels, but you've got guys, you've got alphas now. You've got alphas in Jacksonville that, if they hit this, hit the skids on offense at some point this season, which they've actually been, slightly above average on offense or just good enough to make them a 6-3 team or 5-3 team to this point. Like this kind of that guy right there, it's going to be the kind of player that like the rest of the dudes respond to every single snap.
Here's what I like about it, okay? Because I think as you get older, You don't hear people as they get older. You don't hear older guys going, you know what I'm liking more and more as I get older? Young and brash.
Yeah.
I like young, arrogant, cocky. So when I went into this, I'm going, well, I'm not going to like this. I like A.J. Green.
Yeah.
I believe A.J. Green is one of the most underrated players of his era.
Right.
He's been an incredible wide receiver. If it wasn't for A.J. Green, who knows what we're talking about with Andy Dalton. Seriously, that's how good A.J. Green is.
Right.
But, man, when you go 1 catch for 6 yards, and Jalen, that's the short version. We ran the nice version on Mike and Mike. We ran a minute and a half on my show yesterday where he's going, I talked to his teammates, and they told me he's soft. He goes, I talked to his teammates, and they said we knew once he started talking, because A.J. never talks, like we knew once A.J. started talking to you, you had him, you got him. Like, I want to go, wait a minute, this is A.J. Green, and he tossed you to the ground twice. Like, come on, man.
And this isn't the first time Jalen Ramsey has said, I don't care who you are. I'm going at
He
you.
showed up here and was like, I don't care.
Yep.
I'm Jalen. Nice to meet you. So it's hard when you're good. I can't really dispute anything he just threw out there.
You're absolutely right, Field. He's the kind of guy that if he's on my team, I love him. And if he's
player.
on anyone else's team, I hate him.
If you're in Duval this morning, you're like Team Ramsey. If you're in Cincinnati right now, you're like, that guy should be suspended.
But let me just ask you this now. Is he right? Is he telling the truth? Is Jalen correct that the league views A.J. Green as soft and weak? Please tell me the answer to that is no.
Put it this way. It's the first time I've heard it. And I think there's sometimes this, like, I'm not sure if it's an error we just commit, but like being soft-spoken and being soft are different, right?
Absolutely.
Like just because you don't say much doesn't mean that you're not tough. And I think about A.J. Green and like how can you sort of measure toughness in a player? And like I think if the barometer is getting in fights on the field, like that's a dumb barometer, right? That's hurting your team.
Is A.J. being quiet his whole career hurt him in this spot? Because that's why I think he's always been underrated. He's not the diva receiver.
Yes, to your explanation that he is underrated, which I agree with, it is partially because he has been so quiet and partially because he's in Cincinnati with Andy Dalton. He shouldn't be underrated. He is that good.
I was going to say, like, I don't think about him as like the alligator arms wide receiver. He goes over the middle and you have fear of him just going, no, not for me, like whatever, like incomplete, go back for the next snap. I also don't think of him as a player that, like, when it's close, 50-50 in terms of playing through an injury or not, he says, I'm going to take the long view here. Like, he has been there since Cincinnati was not good. Like, the Bengals have been kind of good for the past 5 years. People maybe sort of lose track of the fact that they were the joke of the league. They were the Browns before the Browns were the Browns, right? And I don't personally view A.J. Green as soft. I don't see it in his game. I don't, I do a radio show every Sunday with one of his closest friends when they were teammates together, Andrew Hawkins, for 6 hours. And that was never the sentiment that I got from Andrew. And we were talking about this a bunch on Sunday. And he was like, the word soft never came up. He was just surprised because A.J. is such a mild-mannered guy that you would never expect that kind of outburst on the field from him.
With Field Yates, Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. It's Will Cain, Ryen Russillo today. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. I want to play for you this Ryan Smith sound on the Ezekiel Elliott case because now we know that the appeal was denied. He's going to be out at least 4 games, but there's still this caveat.
No, it's not over, because here's what happens. The Players Association, when they made this appeal, they asked for 2 things. One was an emergency stay, essentially saying, let me play while you decide this appeal that I have. And the other one was to appeal the decision of the district court judge that didn't allow him to play, that preliminary injunction. The emergency stay's gone, so now he doesn't play for now. An expedited hearing has been scheduled on the appeal of the district court. So what does that mean? That means the lawyers are back in court. They will make more arguments about that injunction that the district court ruled on. They'll have procedural discussions, and then that will be ruled on. Now, if that goes against him, he has other appellate rights as well. So this thing is not over yet. But for now, he sits while the lawyers argue.
Field, I've said that this thing, for all intents and purposes, and all the discussions that we're going to have on ESPN and most fans care about, is over. The punishment is now being imposed. People rarely go back and care about guilt or innocence once punishment is imposed. How much of a punishment do you think this will be on the Dallas Cowboys? How will they cope with Ezekiel Elliott's loss?
Yeah, it's a legit loss here. And I think that your point is well taken about the public and not caring so much about the punishment once, or innocence or guilt once the punishment's levied. And maybe it's because a good chunk of my responsibility here during the football season is tied to the fantasy football. But I'm just telling you, the cross section of people that follow me on social media and care about my input have thought about the Zeke Elliott punishment through fantasy football first. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I think it's just a reality that we've almost like dismissed what it means for the Cowboys for the next 4 weeks, at least, if not 6 games. Their offense was humming over the past 3 or 4 games. Zeke has been the best running back in football for the past month, and maybe it's because Zeke turned a corner. Maybe it's because the offensive line turned a corner. Obviously had 2 players starting at new spots this year behind that dominant offensive line last year. Maybe the defense has tightened the screws enough. Certainly having a healthy Sean Lee matters. Their schedule going forward, I don't have the next 4 games ahead of me. Obviously, they start with Atlanta this Sunday. But yeah, like Dallas, whose margin for error right now is already slim because of how good Philadelphia is. It's not easy. I mean, it's certainly
By the
not
way,
easy.
it's at Atlanta. You got it, Will?
Yeah, Dallas' next 4 games: Atlanta, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, Washington. 3 of those games at home.
Is that the Rams or the Chargers?
Chargers.
So, I mean,
sorry, we have to clarify that.
Yeah, I know. It's
Los Angeles.
3 or
I
4
still
at
call
home.
San Diego sometimes.
I say it happens to me all the time. But like, if you start to get ahead of the playoff picture, like if you think Philly's going to be there in the end, if you think Minnesota's going to be there in the end, and 1 of 2 of Carolina and New Orleans, and then at least 1 of 2 between LA and Seattle, like yeah, it's a difficult thing going forward. Like as much as we talk about, we've wondered who will take over for Zeke. The bottom line is no matter who takes over for Zeke, it's like 40% of Zeke, right? I mean, Alfred Morris is the opposite of an explosive play waiting to happen. Rod Smith is a good story, but like if he's still a third-string running back.
There's people listening right now going, wait a minute, Broncos?
I know.
No. There's another.
Yeah, Rod Smith, the brother of Jalen Smith, the Cowboys linebacker. Rod Smith, who played at Ohio State.
I know you know who Rod Smith is, but
I'm telling you right now, if you want to get a buy low, sell high candidate, either in fantasy or just in
life,
winning at the bar,
football stock,
buy Rod Smith.
Guy.
And I know you say not explosive play. Those 2 guys have a 70-yard and a 45-yard.
Well, I mean, Alfred Morris, it was like the parting of the Red Seas. You remember that play? You remember that play? I know you remember that play. It was like.
Are you calling Alfred Morris underrated, like sneaky big play Alfred Morris?
I'm telling you that by the end of this 4-game stretch, we'll be having conversations like, yeah, wow.
I'm glad to come back on the show, dude.
Radio,
you're all over the place here at ESPN. I'm glad to. I'll take you to task on First Take and see if we can hash out that debate.
I got to ask you about a different transaction here because I think some people saw it as a surprise, maybe not so much. Martellus Bennett.
Yeah.
What's the backstory on what happened with him with the Packers, and now he's on the Pats?
Put it this way. So that's going to be whenever that backstory is revealed. And he took to Twitter last night and basically said, like, wow, I'll tell you everything I can tell you at some point. Obviously, the operation, how he gets to New England is, he gets claimed. He goes on waivers, he gets claimed. Obvious need, or I would say an apparent need for the Patriots, backup tight end to Gronk. Dwayne Allen has 0 catches this season. That part is sort of easy to figure out. But in terms of how he departed Green Bay, he popped up after the bye with a shoulder injury. And it feels like people are just wondering, like, did he find a way to get out of Green Bay?
Because they owe him.
Got hurt.
They owe him money. I mean, the way the normal contract, he would be paid, and now they want some of this money back.
So they
for
paid
not
him a significant
it?
sign. Yeah, he was cut with a failure to disclose a physical condition.
What does that mean?
It means that the team felt as though he withheld information that impacted his ability to be on the field. And when you do that, the reason why you list a player with that designation is it opens the door to you recouping money that you had previously paid him in the form of a signing bonus. So the base salary the Patriots are on the hook for the rest of the season. But the money that they paid him up front when he first put pen to paper back in March, Green Bay may be looking to recoup some of that money from Bennett by saying, listen, you are not forthright about stuff. Now, we can give you a physical, but if there's stuff that we don't see that you're aware of, and you don't make us aware, and you don't tell us about that, like it may mean cash back out of your bank account into our wallets. So I have a feeling this will maybe it never gets public because the Packers are one of those organizations that are sort of so tight-lipped. But it could get ugly between those two sides.
The signing bonus was $6.2 million.
So they could look to take some of that back, $6.2 million back, part of that back.
Let me ask you about this fight between Jerry Jones and Arthur Blank, Jerry Jones and the NFL, Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell. The way I just framed that is the way this entire conversation has been had over the last couple days and probably will be had over the next coming days. But is it really Jerry Jones versus all of these parties? How much is he alone in this fight,
right.
Field?
Yeah, I don't.
How
think
many other owners are with him?
I don't think it's just Jerry Jones. I think it's Jerry Jones and a small cross section of owners elsewhere who he has either a very tight relationship with, either who he perhaps has groomed during their own ownership in the NFL. Obviously, if there's like a prospective new owner, he has to be approved, and Jerry Jones is someone who probably has played a significant role, an influential role in people getting ownership roles in the NFL. So I'd imagine this is not a one-man band that's just fighting this fight because he unilaterally feels these ways and doesn't feel as though he is being treated properly or feels as though the NFL or the commissioner has duped him or the competition or the compensation committee has duped him. I think it's probably Jerry and more people that we have not yet fully become aware of, but could be very soon. This is like it's this undercard of the NFL season. There's always something beyond the games on Sunday.
I've heard numbers like 17 owners on a call with Jerry Jones where he's attempting to persuade them. I've heard numbers like 15 owners that might be with him. When you say small cross-section, can you give me any sense?
No, I've no
sense. Is it a dozen? Is it 5?
I don't think I've ever heard more than a dozen. Everything I've ever read, it's 5 or 6 are with him, then there's 6 fence sitters, and then you're looking at the other 20 that go, hey, we did a great job in the last labor deal. We got a huge chunk of that money coming back. The players traded money for extra rest, basically, in the offseason.
Yep.
Let's just keep moving forward here. But it is worth pointing out, every story that I've read from all these, there are sources that completely contradict. One NFL front office source says this. One other owner says this. Another person. Not all of it is ever in line. But it never feels like it's more than 12.
There's a column up at SI.com by Michael McCann, who's a great lawyer, and he's talking about the legal path for Jerry Jones. And at the end, he says, it's not just a legal path. There is an option to have a vote of no confidence for Roger Goodell. And that's why I asked about how many owners are with him. If enough owners sign on to a vote of no confidence in a CEO-type situation, you're moving forward with a job that the majority of your employers don't want you to be in.
Well,
that's what happened with Fay Vincent in the 1990s in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL feels as though this is, I don't say a non-issue, but the NFL, Joe Lockhart does communications for the NFL, does conference calls now almost twice a week, and he said, yes, it's close. So the NFL seems to think that this extension for Roger Goodell, which I'm not saying that's the the nail in the coffin for this entire conversation, but ultimately that's what the hang-up is.
Yeah, they were trying to leak yesterday that it was going to be 32-0, the vote for Goodell's, and be like, that doesn't seem to make a ton of sense. I don't think you're getting more than
a lot of the stuff.
there.
I mean, a lot of the stuff like it feels like there could be like a a movie like 10 years from now that's just like on the goings-ons of owners and NFL powers that be. I don't know.
Have Wickersham write it. Because I can't wait for the next Wickersham piece and from Don Van Natta.
It's coming out soon.
All right, that's Field Yates, Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. We got Will Cain, Ryen Russillo, it's Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio. Coming up next, though, we have next question, including the most concern maybe we've ever had for somebody this soon in his professional career. It is ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Hey everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha 990. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Aaron Boone, mentioned for the Yankees managerial job. John Gruden, another ESPN guy, talked about when it comes to the Tennessee Volunteers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Pretty soon, at this rate, University of Texas Swimming and Diving should be giving me a call. I'm just waiting.
I didn't know where that was going.
You never know when Vermont Volleyball is going to give you a call or somebody like that.
Did
you not like the volleyball part?
No, I don't. I'd probably take that just for the gear, a nice dark green mountains, the whole deal. The thing is to get another job, and this is where Boone, it might be against you kind of have to get fired first and then come here. We had a stretch of fired NBA head coaches that it was almost like this place was a halfway house for you, and then you immediately got a job again. Like, the best thing ever to get another NBA job was to be an analyst here. I'm telling you, it was like 5 or 6. He'd be sitting down and be like, hey, what's going on? I'd be like, I might take over the Nuggets. Like, oh, you want to, do you want to talk about this year's draft? I would love
come up with the best job for you. I mean, besides this one, you're doing a wonderful job, and I think you hit it out. I'm talking about where are you going to go be a coach? Yeah, where's your coaching out?
I have to be in the front office. I'm not qualified to be a coach.
No, I said coaching.
Has to be a coach?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be in the NBA. I think they would know pretty quickly. They'd be like, why do you keep moving the magnets in the wrong spots?
Do you think it would be tough to get the players' respect?
I think
guys.
it would be. Hey, gang, so what's the dealio? You're like, no, that's kind of an outdated
Mello,
reference.
would you pay attention?
Yeah, I can't even. Hey, Russ, here's what I'm thinking. A little bit more ball movement. What do you say, huh? No, I don't think that would work. Although the swimming and diving thing for you would be pretty good. That'd be huge for Aaron Boone. I do want to ask you, maybe I'll put this off a little bit. We were just talking about ownership in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think here would be like the least likely to be approved by other owners of on-air guys?
Approved by other owners to do what?
To be an owner.
So I want to buy into the NFL.
Say the Houston Texans are for sale. Okay? Maybe I shouldn't do it that way. Maybe let's say the Miami Dolphins are for sale because I don't want any home court advantage out of you.
Oh, okay.
Do you think you would be more likely to be approved by the other owners or me?
You.
Why? I'm surprised you said it so quickly. Because I bet you if you put that up right now, it would be 90%. Well, Will Cain's already one of them. Will Cain's already one of those guys.
Oh, because like my perspective and all that?
Your perspective, your politics would be like, are you kidding?
This guy's been an apologist for us for years.
Yeah, right. He doesn't already have some minority stake in one of these things already. There's no way that people are going to say that I would be approved before you, and that's why I'm so astonished you were so quick to say me.
The reason I said you is because of our commercial break conversation. I apparently, unbeknownst to me, am divisive.
Okay, because somebody
in that ownership group is going, blackball.
Because somebody mentioned Greeny on this, and I don't think that's true. Greeny's one of my favorite guys here. Greeny, I would consider Mike Greenberg a friend. But if you were an owner and you were one of the other 31 guys and Greeny got approved, couldn't you just see him like, hey, guys!
I got an idea for a rule change.
Came up with something.
I got a rule change idea.
You're like, who approved this guy?
First meeting Greeny. Can I tell you how we can fix the NFL?
Here we go. 5 quarters. Everybody sit down. All right. Let's get next question going.
It's time for
next question.
Next question. Next question.
Next question. Next question.
Next question is brought to you by Indeed.com. Post your next job opening on the world's #1 job website.
Will Cain, Ryen Russillo from The Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. We got Hembo here, our first time going to him. We're still waiting on that quarterback thing, just a heads up. What's up, man? It's good to see you.
Good morning. You ready to do this, gentlemen?
Yeah, I am.
Which loss do you believe will be more impactful? Richard Sherman for the Seahawks or Ezekiel Elliott for the Cowboys?
This seems to be a layup. It's designed for you to say Ezekiel Elliott. He gets 52% of the offensive touches for the Cowboys, something like that. But I actually think it's Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman is as close as you have in the NFL to a shutdown corner. The old Deion Sanders take away half the field. And I do think that Alfred Morris and Rod Smith are going to fill in admirably for Ezekiel Elliott. I think the Cowboys will come out with a 4-2 record. I'm not sure I can say the same about the Seahawks defense, how that will be carried over the rest of the season.
Yeah, they already moved on from a corner, tried to. They've been playing Shaquille Griffin, who's been really good as a rookie, but it's definitely Sherman. And that is more about the importance of the position. And I would rather have a guy like Sherman out there knowing I have him every week, then despite how great Ezekiel Elliott has been, I think I can still get by. If my running back position is in question, I can still win games. If I can't cover anybody anymore, and granted there's still other great players in that secondary, that's a bigger deal.
Next is, which 6-win team in the NFC do you believe in the most?
Okay, so we just mentioned a couple of them, and that's the Rams and now the Seahawks. The Saints are 6-2. The Saints, as of right now, if we were doing this yesterday on the show, the bye week teams, as it stands, and granted, whatever, week 10 now. Pittsburgh, New England, 1-2 seeds in the AFC. In the NFC, it's Philadelphia and the Saints. The Vikings have 6 wins. Seahawks, Rams, already mentioned. Carolina also 6-3. Man, that's a bunch of teams in there that I actually don't like.
Yeah, but five teams that have 6 wins in the NFC. This is a 2-team debate to me. It's not the Vikings, it's not the Panthers, and it's not the Seahawks. This is a debate between the Saints and the Rams for me on who I believe in the most. And I'm going to come down on the side of the Rams. As much as I hate to pick Jared Goff over Drew Brees, the Rams are a balanced team.
I'm going Saints. I'm going Saints and hoping that they figured out this defense. Because remember when that season started, it was the same deal. You go, yeah, man, it's kind of boring to be a Saints fan. Or maybe it's exciting, but you score some points, but you give up 29 to the Vikings, you give up 36 to the Pats, you're not going to be good, and then it has been wins all the way, 6 straight for New Orleans, as we mentioned. If you could win money on that, hey, give me the 4 teams that have the bye right now in the playoff standings. Again, I understand it is very early, but I think very few people will come up with the New Orleans Saints.
Gentlemen, next, if you could watch only one college football game on Saturday, which would it be?
I can't. I don't think I can do this.
So we have 7 matchups between ranked opponents, including 3 between the top 10. I believe this is the latest you've had 3 top 10, according to the Bears research from Game Day. So number 1, Georgia. Number 10, Auburn. Number 2, Bama. Number 16, Mississippi State. Number 3, Notre Dame. Number 7, Miami. Number 6, TCU against number 5, Oklahoma. You want me to keep going here? Number 20,
No,
Iowa, ranked here. Wisconsin, Michigan State, Ohio State, Oklahoma State, Iowa State.
Well, this is definitely one of the 3 top 10 matchups. Georgia, Auburn, Notre Dame, Miami, TCU, OU. I'm going to go with Georgia, Auburn. If I'm picking one, that's the one I pick. And it narrowly edges out Notre Dame, Miami.
My first guess was to go Notre Dame, Miami on this deal, but I'm still not sure if Miami's good enough. And I know Miami fans are sick of hearing that, and we know that the U is back, but we're not back officially. I'm going to go TCU, Oklahoma.
Really?
Yeah, because I think that Miami can lose this and still have a chance at it. Notre Dame probably can't because it'll be 2 losses. Even if Miami ends up great and Georgia ends up great, they're not going to be getting in. TCU, Oklahoma right now, I feel like implication-wise, one of these things is going to be done there. So I'll go with the Big 12 matchup. Next question.
Which team's early season struggles concern you more, the Thunder or the Cavs?
Cavs didn't lose their 7th game last season until December 22nd. They lose their 7th last night. Thunder now 0-6 against the West.
I think the answer has to be the Thunder. And although LeBron says we can't expect Isaiah Thomas to come in and fix every one of our problems, I at least have to factor
Not when you're the worst defense in the league.
Right. He's not going to fix those problems.
Yeah.
But at least have to factor in that the Cavs aren't playing at full force, full strength. So I have a little more patience with the Cavaliers. Plus, LeBron James is on their team.
I was more of that, hey, the Thunder will be probably in that 4 or 5 slot, and then that second week I go, they're going to figure some things out. But they're not hitting shots collectively, the 3 main guys. So that's going to get fixed. The Cavs thing is different, though. Oklahoma City, what's the standard? What's the standard we hope to see from them? Competitive, maybe even in a Western Conference Finals with Golden State. For the Cavs, it's only about, do you look like a team that can beat the Warriors? And they haven't looked like that for last year and the early parts of this year. So I'm going to actually say I'm more worried about the Cavs because I think the shooting part for the Thunder, that part is easily fixable. Next question.
The start of Lonzo Ball's NBA career has been blank.
I'm going to go first here. I'm going to say passive. I know he's always been a guy that likes to defer. He's a completely unselfish teammate, but he is way too passive. I'm not worried about the shooting. I'm not, maybe there's times where I look at him athletically and I go, I wish I had a little bit more. But I'm telling you, that Celtics game 2 nights ago, he was bad. He couldn't hit a shot. And then at 4.5 minutes left to go in the game, it was really weird. It was almost like he got so sick of the whole night, tired of being worked, that he started attacking Kyrie, hit a layup, missed another close one, went down the length of the court and chased down a guy and blocked a shot. It was almost like he got mad late in the game. And I actually think that's a good sign.
Yeah, I'm going to say disappointing, but I want to be clear. I'm not signing on to this overreaction that he might be a bust. Stephen A's been saying this. It's way too early. If you look at rookie years, not just for NBA all-time greats like Jason Kidd, but guys like, for example, those on his team like Brandon Ingram, it takes a while. They not only play poorly, they shoot. They simply shoot poorly as young guys. That being said, I did expect a little more from Lonzo. Set aside the shooting percentage. I expected more of what you just laid out, more attacking, breaking down defenses. And when he was on the court, same court with Kyrie, I just thought it showed how far he has to go.
Will Cain, Ryen Russillo, Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. One more, Hembo.
Lastly, what do you make of the Yankees putting their managerial candidate on a conference call with the media after they interview?
Well, I think that's the best way to decide whether or not somebody can handle New York City, right? I watched that new interview show on NBC. That's a disaster, by the way. Have you seen this?
No.
They do real interviews with people trying to get like a real job, and they just bring the people in, and you go, how am I not richer? Like, these are the people I'm competing with every single day.
In job interviews?
Yeah. So they bring them in, and they go, one lady came in, and they go, what are you looking for doing? It'd be like me interviewing, and they go, or what are you looking to do at ESPN? And be like, well, I've been on the air for a while, so I definitely don't want to do that. And they'd be like, you're interviewing for an on-air position. And you go, oh, that's right. Like, how do you even get in the car? How do you have a license that legally allows you to drive to show up to the workplace? So this is actually smart by the Yankees because you got to handle this. The biggest part of the Yankees job, Torrey wasn't some great in-game manager. He was great at massaging the grind of 6+ months in that city.
So you think putting a candidate in front of the media is a testing ground for whether or not you'll be a good candidate?
This is such a good answer. You don't even know what to do right now.
It is because it's so weird. We might hire you. Go talk to the media.
Yeah, right. Imagine you could definitely weed out some people. Like, how'd it go? Be like, oh, I got this. Nailed it. I could tell. Just looking in Cashman's eyes, this thing's a lock. We're going to start talking dollars. That's the next question here on Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio. Hit us up at Mike and Mike, 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Your handle is?
Will Cain, WILLOCAIN.
I'm at Ryen A. Russillo. Okay, let's do ESPN employees as NFL owners. Who would be approved in that room? Who would not? We also have Darren Woodson, Tim Tebow still on the way, so a lot of football to do here on a Friday. It's Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio. Will Cain, Ryen Russillo, it's Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. A bunch of football guests coming up. Darren Woodson a little bit later, Matt Burke, and Art Pugh, former Army Special Forces Green Beret, and Tim Tebow with a loaded slate for college football. SportsCenter is brought to you by Discover. If you're a Discover credit card member, there's an important action you can take right now. Activate Discover's free Social Security alerts online, and they'll alert you if your Social Security number is found on any one of thousands of risky websites. Learn more at discover.com/free alerts. Limitations apply. Want to get to a bunch of college football stuff. All of our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Before we do that, because we were just finishing up with this whole Jerry Jones deal, ownership, power struggle, the dynamic. And the players always end up on the wrong side of this because the way it's set up, it's just, hey, we're going to lose the negotiation. It's just a matter of how much. And the last time through, the NFL players took a pretty big hit financially. But the owners are usually fighting with themselves more than they even are the players. So whenever we look at, you even have the Donald Trump thing where other owners go, the reason he's criticizing us is because he was denied ownership of the Buffalo Bills. Sad, I believe is what he said about it. Mark Cuban's mentioned, I don't know that I could get, I think it was at one point he wanted the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he goes, I'm probably a little too brash, maybe a little bit too much. I wonder if some NBA owners go, should we have signed up with Cuban? And I love Cuban as an owner, even if I can disagree with him at times. You believe that I thought you would be approved quicker than I would be if we wanted to buy an NFL team, which probably isn't going to happen, even though the fill-in rate on Mike and Mike's pretty good.
Right. Don't discount the possibility.
You never want to limit yourself any ceiling whatsoever.
Don't want to say billions. Definitely not in my future.
Yeah, you don't want to just rule it out before you're 50.
Right.
Pretty good chance.
Is that
though.
The cutoff?
I have
not
a friend,
a billionaire by 50, you're not going to be? What is the cutoff?
I had a friend that at one point, we're out, we kind of talking about our lives, self-assessment, 30s. And he just said, I know I'm not ever going to be, really successful. I went, whoa. It just blew my mind. I'm like, you're already waving the flag at 33? He goes, I'm never going to be rich. I'm never going to be rich. Go on a vacation maybe once a year, get a new car every 5 or 6. I'm over it. And it blew my mind. I was like, how? So you're right. Don't limit yourself. You are the stuff which dreams are made of.
I think I've got a little bit too much Mark Cuban in my past, to your point. I don't know, actually in my present and my future as well.
You think they would say no to you?
I think I've said things and will continue to say things that not everybody will give 100% approval rating on.
Who'd be the most likely to be of the on-air guys?
Okay.
Le Batard? No.
No.
Le Batard's a no. Stu Gatz would probably be, maybe. Stu would be like, hey, do we want a 40-point touchdown? Like little jock jams?
I think if we're looking for the most likely pool, it's not going to come from the host types.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to do it. All right, I want to ask you this question.
But I got an answer for you.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. I think the most likely guy to get approved for NFL ownership will be on this show in about 40 minutes.
Oh, easily. Yeah, that's Darren Woodson.
It's Darren Woodson.
That would be. We'll ask him how the portfolio's doing. This sounds evil. Okay, it sounds mean, and I'm not sure I want to give you the mean answer, but I feel like I'm leaning mean on this deal. Wisconsin fans are upset. They're upset that there already feels like there's some kind of campaign to keep them out of the college football playoff. That is not what's happening, but I'm telling you, it's a very easy way to put it together where you could see them at 13-0 being out, and that is the undefeated SEC champ, 1-loss Clemson, 1-loss Oklahoma, Notre Dame takes care of Miami and everything remaining on their schedule. That 13-0, I don't think it's impossible to see Wisconsin out. The more interesting thing is, do you want them to be left out?
Yes. And not because I have any hatred towards the Badgers.
Have you been there?
Wisconsin.
Have you been to Madison? Because it's the best.
Never been to the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's great. Nobody would ever root against them because of who they are. This is not there's other geographical biases and fan bases. You go, that's not what this is with the Badgers. But why are you saying yes? Because I feel like a lot of people would just want to see them left out, and it's not specific to them.
Right. It's because leaving out an undefeated champion of the Big Ten is the quickest way to either end or expand the college football playoffs, and I want it to be bigger than 4 teams. I want it to be, I can settle on 8. My opening bid is Mike Leach. Let's start with 64. That way I get you back to 8 or 16. 8 will get the conference champions in and a few other Cinderellas and dark horses that deserve to be in, and every team in the top 8 could theoretically possibly win the national championship.
Okay, but that's where the playoff expansion thing, I look at those teams and I start to go, you know what? I don't want this team playing for a national championship. And I'm not talking about 13-0 Wisconsin, because in that scenario, they may still get into the 4. The worst they would be 5. So let's expand that out. I'm going to tell you why I'm not I'm not in favor of expansion every time we bring it up. And the wildest NFL offseason, it could be the case. Will Cain, Ryen Russillo, Mike and Mike, ESPN Radio.